This is the Furlough Podcast, brought to you by All American Ford in Aniana, Alabama. Stop by and see John Makovica and his team today.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We're at the Furlough Podcast. In studio today, we got Michael and Chris, some jiu-jitsu brothers of mine. We're just going to break it up a little bit. Amber's not going to be on today, but
I miss Amber.
she does good. She does good. That's why I like to throw that little bit of always giving our big support to John Makovica and his team out in Aniana. They do a great job, and I think she does a fantastic job on that commercial. I'm trying to get her to do some more. But welcome in, guys. Mike, this is your first time in.
Yep.
Mike is a British fellow, I guess you could say. Are you?
So we didn't say gentleman.
No.
Was with it?
No.
No, not a gentleman.
No. We used to be friends at
one point. Welcome,
Yep.
man. Welcome. How long have you been in the United States? You've been here a while.
Yeah, 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
What got you over here? Just work?
Yeah. Yeah, I was working for a Swiss company, based in China, traveling all over the world.
Man, that's good stuff, though.
Yeah, I guess so. And then got hired by a German company to come and take over an automotive safety products plant in Virginia.
Oh, man.
There you go. And then that's what brought me over.
I know in my day gig, we do a lot with German companies and companies from Finland.
Okay.
For what I do during the day, the Finns, for some, I call them the Finns. I don't know what the proper things, but man, those guys are big into pulp and paper and different things like that. They like to build big machines.
Yeah.
They don't like to put them in. I have to bust their balls. So they always sell their work like they're going to put it in, but they don't ever like to put once they get you to buy off on this. Oh, well, since you're doing it, why don't you just go ahead and put it in for us? I'm like, son of a bitch. but they do good work. They've been in big equipment for a long time. But you deal with big equipment, correct?
A little bit. I mean, I don't know if it's big. I mean, yeah, I guess pretty big, some of the equipment. But yeah, I mean, all areas of textiles. So it could be automotive safety, it could be medical, it could be aviation, defense,
cool.
And apparel and so on. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that the state of Alabama is growing big. They just signed off a bunch of stuff in Huntsville, Alabama. They're going to be building a lot of stuff. That place is going to get expanded. I wish I'd have known 10 years ago. I went up there and bought a crap ton of property.
Yeah. I mean, Huntsville is kind of the California of at least Alabama, if not the South. I mean, it's so multicultural up there compared to everywhere else.
As long as they don't change the laws up there, like they do California.
I don't think they'll do that. But
Did you hear and I haven't had a chance to read the bill yet, but did you see the bill in Virginia where they're trying to make it illegal to teach firearms training and certain martial arts training, depending on, and it's a gray area. It's based off the intent of why you're teaching, your martial arts training.
Really?
It just blows my mind because, again, I can't speak to it in the sense of what it truly is. I haven't had a chance to read the bill, but if you just look at the face of it, everybody's trying to sell it. It's like, oh my God, they're taking rights away. I don't know if that's true, but just the audacity of saying that you can't learn to defend yourself, whether it's with a concealed carry weapon, whether it's anybody can punch a punching bag. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how can you say you can't just? How can you govern any kind of? Because they're basically saying that it would make martial arts schools obsolete. And to me, in Virginia, I know a lot of people are moving from the like Maryland, different places. They're moving out a little bit into areas like Virginia or whatnot. But I just cannot believe that would even be possible to be on a bill in any state.
Well, it's like feudal Japan. I mean, when you start outlawing this, that, and the other, I mean, of course, everybody's always worried about the firearm thing, but yeah, I don't think they'll ever sell. I mean, things.
How do you enforce that?
Yeah,
you just drive it underground.
That's right. It makes it better.
Yeah. I was gonna say, can you charge a little bit better for that?
Yeah, that's right. It's a secret technique.
Now it is a secret. Now it is secret scrolls, right?
That's
so
right.
instead of
That's right. We shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Well, you saw what happened in England over the weekend. I mean, you can't have handguns in England.
What happened? I missed it. What happened?
There was a terrorist attack.
Oh God, man.
And and he was a guy who'd been arrested for terrorism, put in jail, and he was out on license. And then he just went and attacked a load of people with a knife.
With a knife. That knife is the big thing.
But-
People.
But you know, the only people with guns in England are the bad guys and special police
Yeah.
and the military.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's crazy, and I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Is what is the big deal? I know they set up these boxes, which I've read. I've never been to Great Britain.
You've watched Doctor Who.
I've watched Doctor. I've never, I've never been to Great Britain, but from my understanding, I guess just in London, maybe just I don't know, maybe it's all the big towns, but they've set up the boxes for you to just throw your knives in or something. Is that true?
yeah, I've not lived there since '99. So,
Okay.
but they have like amnesties where you can just throw the knives in or whatever, or guns, and no questions asked.
That's so weird. That's almost like the perfect way to get rid of a murder weapon. Yeah, you just wipe that bitch clean and throw it in there and keep walking. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like,
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of knife crime now, as I understand, in England.
Yeah.
A lot of knife crime.
well, it's like I think we've discussed it before. Even in New York, the Manhattan, you can't have certain knives. You can't have a knife that has the little thumb assist.
Right.
You can't have one. They look for and you can't have one with a clip on it so that you can easily access it to get it out of your pocket.
Yeah,
And it's like that's so wild.
But what I saw, what happened on the weekend, this guy just had 2 kitchen knives.
Yeah.
That was it, and I think he taped them to his hands.
Yeah, so nobody could take them away from him.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
great. Wasn't it in God, I hope I don't say this wrong, but wasn't it in Britain where the guy in the machete with the 2 guys with the machete
Yes.
attacked the British Army kid?
He was collecting for veterans. Yeah, and they just attacked him, and nobody did anything.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
But this time, the guy did the attack, and then everybody just jumped on him.
Oh, that's
They
good to
sprayed
know.
him with fire extinguishers and
a
whale
whale
bone.
A whale bone. Yeah, whale
A
bone.
whale bone.
Yeah.
What?
There's video.
Oh, I got to check this
Yeah,
out.
It was, but
Well-
he had a fake bomb vest on him.
Oh, yeah.
One guy was still on top of him, like one of the public, and the police pulled him away.
Wow.
And then he got up, and then the police shot him.
Well, hell, at that point, you almost have to go back old school. Say, if we're going, we're going. You know what I'm saying? You just have to do something about it. Well, it's good to know that people didn't just clam up or run. And I think,
No, they didn't.
I think that a friend of mine, Joe, is a friend of mine. We were talking about the other day. Is like, the problem with society is we don't punch people in the face anymore. Everybody we've delved everybody down so much. You don't want people to be assholes, but just getting in fights all the time. But we've delved everybody down so much that everybody's afraid to speak their mind, or they're afraid to engage somebody who's being a jackass.
Yeah.
And there's a story out that may or may not have happened here recently in this
I've heard this story.
that a guy that just had been basically bothering 2 bars side by side, just running his cocksucker, way too drunk, and nobody would do anything to him. And even the cops showed up to talk to him, but they didn't take him away or nothing. Well, the cops left, and this said person, may have not realized that he was calling a young lady a bitch right next to her husband. So her husband smashed him in the face, picked him up and threw him, walked him about a block, and then threw him across 4 lanes of traffic. And and the story allegedly.
Okay.
And
Supposedly.
supposedly,
Yeah.
and apparently, supposedly, the guy came back the next day and apologized to the young lady, when he saw her again. So, sometimes, with that being said, that
Positive intervention
can maybe wake somebody up. I don't think I guess my point is people don't see consequences anymore. People don't see, hey, maybe I shouldn't be a dick, and I think if people would, instead of running away and trying to call the police, just handle the situation a little bit more. There are certain situations you don't want to engage in. Obviously, if there's a guy standing there with a machine gun, that's probably not the best time to engage. But, if somebody's harassing somebody, prime example, the young girl that Walt Harris's daughter that got abducted, which is horrible, horrible story. there's a rumor that, and I don't know that this is fact, but there's a rumor that somebody saw her getting drug into the car and they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And to me, that is amazing.
Mhm.
And, to me,
Yeah, but I would say the people in this room right here, there's two kinds of people. When people say fire, scream fire, you run away or you run toward it. And
Yeah.
we're kind of the ones that run at it instead
Right.
of running away from
To
it.
put it out.
Just, you're right. And it's just, that's, that's not, I don't think it's stupidity, but I think it's just a matter of, we want to do something about, and it may be our age. I mean, I'm the elder in the room. I realize that, but we're still within that, that age group of, we grew up in that time. $6 Million Man.
yeah. So,
Steve Austin. That's right, I learned a lot. But
Well,
anyway.
okay, here's a good question for you. You're an instructor for children, and how do you, and, obviously the big goal is you take a young mind from
Mhm.
at a fairly young
Mhm.
age, and if you're successful with not only teaching that child and dealing with, and his parents are successful to keep him in there,
Mhm.
so you've raised this child, you've helped raise this
Mhm.
child up
Mhm.
from, let's say, what's your starting age, 8ish?
Well, actually 5. We've
5,
actually got a
really?
5-year-old in there. We've got another 5-year-old. They're in there, and they kind of start off almost like a mascot kind of
Yeah.
in the class, and they're picking up parts of it, and the parents are happy with what they're getting. It's not, you're not babysitting them.
So my question
But
is,
go ahead, I'm
if you
sorry.
take one from 5 to 17,
Uh-huh.
what is your goal to teach them? What is besides physical attributes of defending themselves?
Mhm.
Are you positively influencing them to
Oh
make
yeah.
a difference socially?
Oh yeah. I think absolutely. But I think, you know, um, you don't want to say that you're training protectors, but
Right.
that's really what we all are, because when we all have to have each other's back at the end of it. But we try to train them. I've gave this lecture week before last because we had a kid that kind of had a bad reaction to. He was kind of getting owned on the mat a little bit, and he
Hmm.
got pissed off, and he was mad,
Yeah.
and I kind of put a stop to it, and I said, "Hey," I said, "my job is to keep you guys between the ditches." I said, "Show you what, tell you, and instruct you through my own actions how you should react to stuff." And I said that's out there. We train in here so that we're better out there, and we need to know how to deal with problems and adversity and dealing with things and not lose our temper and do things like that. So the whole thing, I mean, we'll just talk about stuff, just regular talking in class. You can accomplish a lot because a lot of things don't come up. I was saying there was several years ago, my wife and I, we were having difficulties, and my kids were spending a lot of time with my parents, and it was right after the Family Guy came out.
Okay.
And so my mom and dad thinking, hey, that's a cartoon, so it's fine. So needless to say, I said I should write a book of how to raise your kids through the Family Guy,
With the
because
Family Guy.
there's so many great conversations that come up when your kids watch the Family Guy, because they're like, Dad, what is this? What is
But there's some underlying things in the Family Guy
yeah, but what it does, it sparks a lot of conversations about not all of it being right and wrong, but just what certain things are. And it's just people try to avoid talking about stuff. And in this day and time, if your child is ill prepared for what's out there, you're not doing a service for them. You need to teach them how to navigate socially
Mhm.
with people, to where it's not like either they're fine or they're punching somebody in the face.
Right.
There needs to be, you need to teach them how to deal with people and talk things out.
Well, you made the comment on your show, and to give a shout out to your shows, Jiu-Jitsu Therapy with Chris Mize is going to be coming out. We'll start seeing a lot more of that. But you made a conversation. You mentioned something that I like to mention because I saw it through Coach Eric Paulson, is verbal jiu-jitsu, and I think that's one of the things that, whether you realize it or not, and Mike, you touched on this as well, is that not only when you do jiu-jitsu or different types of martial arts, not only are you learning to physically take care of yourself, but you're also learning how to maneuver the stress.
Yep.
And I think with verbal jiu-jitsu, as you mentioned, there's so many ways that you can kind of bleed off the energy of going from nice to punching somebody in the face.
Right.
I advocate punching people in the face sometimes when it's
Right.
just when you can't go in.
It's necessary.
when it's absolutely the end of the road.
Well, like I said,
Yeah.
we're old school. I mean,
But you're coming back to what you were saying. What does it do for kids, basically?
Yeah.
I got something, actually a real life example. There was a kid that I was helping Chris train in the gym, and he had a really kind of a poor attitude the whole time, and he kept on calling me a loser.
Oh yeah.
What?
No, he was a kid. Now this is one of the kids in the class.
He was
Really?
Right. Yeah, he was trying to be kind of smart, alecky.
Yeah.
He thought
Yeah.
it was cute.
Yeah.
And he did that. It happened for a few weeks, and then I went away on a business trip, came back, saw him again, training, and he said, "Bye, Coach Michael." I mean, his attitude had done a
Had
180
totally changed,
in
yeah.
about a month. And I really kind of didn't like the kid, And
Yeah,
I was sort of looking at his parents or his grandmother said, "Hey, what?" But he had a 180, and that was really
That is good
Yeah.
because maybe obviously something happened that touched off on the kid.
Yeah.
And you had enough patience
yeah.
to not go, look, you little shit,
Yeah.
you know, to whereas I'm not the greatest with kids. I shy away from kids
Yeah.
as much as
You've always
much,
proclaimed that. You've been very honest about that.
I try to push away from kids
Yeah.
because I know that my verbiage and terminology
Yeah.
is really not the best for children, and my patience level is low for kids.
Yeah.
And so my verb, not necessarily, I guess my verb, well, I don't know how you put it, is I try to weave my way away from that
Yeah.
situation the best I can because I am mature enough to understand that I'm probably not the best for a child. I need,
But let me say this. I'm gonna differ there because I've seen what you've done, and again, I'm not just tooting your horn because it's your show, but it just happened. It happened last week, so it's
wow.
easy.
Okay.
Yeah, it happened last week. So one of my private clients' sons started doing class, and it's a real small class, and you came in early one night over at Arcahaba Heights location. You like to come in there on Thursdays. You're doing Ogie that night.
Yeah.
So Coach Chris comes in. And he's just hanging out, and I could tell he's just kind of bored, and he's on the mat, just kind of stretching a little bit. And I said, "Hey, Coach, will you work with this young man?" And he said, "Of course, sure." And let me tell you, that kid, I talked to the kid's dad the next day, and that kid was lit up like a Christmas tree. And he had such a good time. And I mean, you had such a great, and the kid's a good kid anyway.
Right.
So the trick is don't send you kids that are, I think you could do well with kids that are problematic. You just don't have a lot of patience with them.
Right.
But kids that are wanting to learn, you're this way with adults too. If you get an adult that's wanting to get something, that's really into it and like really wants to learn from you, you're just like, your time is, there is no clock.
Right.
I've seen you do it. I mean, you're just like, you will work with people. It doesn't matter if they're having trouble. You have patience with them. It's the desire.
Right.
And if you get kids that are fired up and ready to learn jujitsu and listen to stuff, that makes the difference.
Yeah, I guess my point is I can't, like you just said, is I can't deal with kids that are just crazy as all shit.
That makes sense. Hey, that's a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
No,
But-
I mean they do get crazy. Once one gets amped up, they all
Oh,
get
yeah.
amped up.
Oh
So-
yeah, it feeds
It's
off.
viral.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
It's like blood in the water. They all,
Man,
the sharks get after it.
There was this one kid a couple of weeks ago, and he was really misbehaving. Like at the end of the class, I mean, he was trying to pull the pads off the wall and so on.
Jesus.
and Chris,
I have a follow up, but go ahead.
I can't hear myself. But,
Uh-oh, may have come loose on you. Wiggle that little cord over there right in front of you. Yeah. Unfortunately, we got some audio things that go a little nuts from time.
Okay, yeah,
There we
I
go.
can hear you.
There you go.
I'm good now. But anyway,
Okay.
he was. I mean, he was really, kind of insane. Okay, and he got.
He was. And traditionally, this kid is an okay kid.
Yeah, he's usually okay, but I got to the conclusion. It's pretty funny at the end, but anyway, he got given some push-ups to do, 50 push-ups,
Okay.
and he did every one.
Oh,
He
good.
didn't even complain once. I mean, he went through and he did.
He
all
was
50.
crying in anger when he was
And
done.
he finished anyway, and he and I said, hey, well done doing the push-ups, and I made him do a couple again because they weren't right form.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
so he leaves, and I get talking to his brother, And then
His
he
older
tells
brother
me,
does adult class.
yeah, and he tells me, yeah, they stay up late at, playing Xbox or whatever.
Yeah.
But, they're okay in the morning. They get up, stay up till 2 a.m. But they get up in the morning, they have a Red Bull, and then they go
Holy
get.
shit.
So they start their day with a Red Bull. And I'm like,
And some ramen noodles.
Red Bull and ramen noodles, man.
Potted meat.
Yeah.
Definitely potted meat.
He's living the college lifestyle
And I was-
already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, I mean,
Damn, you gotta love that spam.
So I was like, well, I wasn't really surprised, but the kid learned from it, didn't he?
Oh, he did. And he came in, and I mean, he was really acting up, and so I also bumped him because he was asking about his next promotion prior to this little thing.
Yeah, he was hitting people with his belt, and then it was
After class. It was after class.
He must have seen that on YouTube or something.
Yeah, that's right.
When you hit each
Yeah.
other with the belts when
Yeah.
you get
Right.
promoted.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so I
He
said,
was all amped up to get the whooping.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, dude, I can tell you this. I said, you're not getting promoted anytime soon because you're acting up too much. I said, this is not the behavior that we want to get out of you. I said, I don't know what's going on with you today. And I said, you're going to have to earn your way back now because you were he was just really, like Michael said, just crazy acting. But then I talked to him last week. He came in and I said, hey, man, I just want you to know this is why we do what we do. I said, we got to, our goal is this. We want you to kind of grow up right and do better. And we've got to teach you how things are done. We can't just, like I said, you're a representative of us. And, and I said, you get it? And he said, yes, sir, I get it. And he said, I won't do it again.
What's roughly his age group?
Oh, he is 8,
8.
9 years old. And, he's a strong kid. And I mean, he's a kid that you want.
Yeah,
class.
he's really polite. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean,
He's a good kid, and
He's just wound up, right?
Yeah, if I could get him to not do that damn headlock thing he does.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he was doing a headlock in a roll that I was refereeing.
He was tapping
on.
guys too. He was
And then-
tapping guys with it.
Yeah.
It was like the Fat Man choke, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then Chris.
I don't teach him.
Chris counseled me on not letting him do headlocks. So.
He was doing kind of like an Ezekiel, I think, too, with that at times. And again, this kid's 8.
So he
He
had like a
had
little
him down.
fat,
He's like this.
little
He's like
fat
this.
man choke with a fist in there.
Fist in the throat.
But then he said, but that's my signature move. I said, find another one. But then I was with a couple of the girls, and then this one girl said, well, I'm going to do my signature move, no joke, and farted. She said that was her signature move, and she did it all night long.
Are you
I'm
serious?
telling you, it was.
I didn't hear that story.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Her name wasn't Amber, was it?
No. It was terrible.
Oh, that is hilarious.
It's a signature move, yes.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Gas.
To be
Gas
fair,
attack.
I've actually watched a video where a guy tapped a guy in a tournament with a fart. So,
Really?
yeah, had him in a north-south fart, and the guy tapped and was like about to throw up on the mat.
Sheesh.
Oh my God.
That's interesting. Too much sriracha.
Too much sriracha.
We have one guy that does that all night.
Yeah, that's right. We call him potted meat.
Call him.
Potted meat.
Pardon me.
Put a
Potted meat.
nickname. You don't want a
Potted meat.
nickname. Potted
Hey,
meat.
potted. He comes in the door. It's like Cheers. Potted meat. It's like a joke, But anyway, he's a young guy. But anyway, yeah. Little did we realize that was going to become his signature.
Yeah. Golly.
You know,
I don't know if I have a signature. The only time I ever got a fighter's nickname was from your brother. It was funny.
Mhm.
And called me Chris the Crusher at
Oh.
a fight one night, just out of the blue. And I'm just like, I guess he's been watching way too much Bugs Bunny.
Well, he thinks that, that was off the cuff.
I was like, yeah,
But,
he's good off the cuff, though.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
remember back in the day because I was like, it's funny. I would, because I'm the one that started calling Chris Conley Chris the Chronic.
The crime.
Conley. This was a long time ago, so it wasn't as politically correct as it is now.
There you
But
go.
if you could say that now, but anyway, he was like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe
Yeah,
you shouldn't do
probably.
that. No, but anyway.
But you've got a fight name. Whenever I roll with somebody in the gym,
Oh, yeah?
and if I usually stay on top and I get my tap out, whatever, I say, look, I want too rough on you, was I? He said, you roll with bowling. I said, okay, enough said.
I was told the other day that I was when I'm teaching, that I am the stepdad you never wanted.
Oh.
So I was like, damn, I don't know if I should take that as a compliment or
I would. Why not?
Yeah,
I
just
thought
because I'm rough.
The Twisted Sister. I'm
yeah.
not going to take it video.
Yeah, because I make them work from beginning to end.
Yeah, yeah.
I give them no gaps if I can help it, and I was told that I was the stepdad you never wanted.
That's better than holding back, yeah.
That's
You're
true.
not teaching.
Well, you know what works though.
Yeah.
Well, you know that it kind of goes hand in hand with the question of what environment do you want, you know. And my whole thing is, in whatever we're doing, your time is expensive. You know, I think everybody's time's valuable. You know, the three of us here, I mean, you value your time, you know, you value your time, I value my time. And to me, if I feel like I value my time, I should feel like they should value their time. So let's give it. I never want a class that, or anything I'm doing with anybody, to feel like I'm not giving them what they want.
Yeah.
And so to me, you know, a simple hour, let's bang out that hour. Let's get you everything you're paying for in that hour. Not to the point where we're just overloading you so much you're not getting anything out of it. But I want you to feel like you got to find that sweet spot, you know, where you're not working on death, but you feel like it's not a waste of their time. And because to me, I think so many people have quit because they feel like it's a waste of their time. And I think people have quit because it's too much, because they feel, you know, so, you know, I don't like going because I'm getting the shit kicked out of me. I'm you know, fuck, I'm hurting all the time. I've got to quit. Or fuck, all I do is just sit around and listen. I'm not doing nothing. So you got to find that sweetness, you know what I'm saying? And it's almost like when you go to work. If you ever have somebody tell you they work from the time that they start on in the morning till the time they leave in the afternoon, they're a fucking liar. So what you have to do is you have to have a good employee that gives that sweet amount of work where they're not burning themselves out, but they're not fucking sitting around bullshitting the whole time. You got to get some value out of that day, and so I want a value out of that hour. And if that means that we're not stopping, I'm not killing you, but I'm from the time we on top of the hour to the next top of the hour, we're you know, getting after it.
Well, I think that's why I come to, you know, the gym to Gracie, you know, Birmingham. I went to a gym out in Arizona, and the first 20 minutes of every class, or 25 minutes of every class, was just warm-up drills.
Oh, that drives me insane.
Shrimping, roll, and, you know, forward. Yeah. I mean,
I start crossing.
Whatever. I mean, it was just, you know, it was just mind-numbing.
Yeah, I mean.
And then you've got 40 minutes to try and learn something.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah.
Yeah, you know, then they you know, you got 5 minutes or whatever, you know, and then you got another 5 minutes of this, and then you get maybe 10 minutes of technique, and if you're lucky, you get 5 minutes of rolling before it takes people 3 to 4 minutes to line damn up. You know, it's like it's so
talking about kids again. Kids, lining kids up.
Hell, some adults. I had some. I saw all right, guys, let's line up. Next thing I know, this guy's over on the side putting something in his bag, and I'm like, hey, man,
we're lining up.
Yeah. So I mean, listen. Yeah. You know, you got to come some sense of etiquette, you know, in your class. But yeah, I do. I like to give the guys a hard time, but I don't think any of them will say that, you know, they don't get what they want out of the school. You know.
Right.
But I think it takes some time as well. You know, when you're in class, like it took me a couple of years to get the confidence to say, hey, what the fuck was that? I don't get it. You know, can you show me that again? You know, in front of a group. I mean, and it really takes that amount of time for me, you know, to feel confident enough to say, am I the only one not getting this?
I'm glad that you said that, because I make this smart ass comment where every time I show a technique and I go, "Is anybody got any questions?" and everybody just staring at you dumb. I said, and I go, "Experts, right?" And everybody starts laughing. I'm like, "Fuck, ask the question. Ask the question." You know.
Well, one thing that happens too, the longer you teach, sometimes you know what some of the questions are. So when you give the technique, you're answering some of those questions. So that helps people. But I think sometimes, and that's the thing about, like I said, doing that excessively long warm up, whatever, you end up, guys, they'll repeat a move, but they don't really get it. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like they're just trying to duplicate it. And you look around and it's like, when you make it over to that corner over there with those guys, it's like, wow. That's like telling a secret to you and you whisper it to the next guy and the next guy. It's like, what the hell? I thought we were doing Kimuras.
Well, there are some people that get off track a little bit.
Right. But Yeah, I mean, you know, you gotta stay on it. I think that's one thing about our programs too. We're real, you know, we want to make sure that people get their stuff, you know, and
Right. Well, I wish more about some things we talked about earlier. I wish more women would come in,
mhm,
and I do wish that I'd like to figure out a way to do more of a women's only self defense thing. I
mhm,
think a
mhm.
lot of crazy things are going on right
Oh yeah.
now, and well, I say that I think crazy things have gone on for a long time.
Mm.
Um, I think they're just coming to the forefront of the news right now. I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
a lot of news is in cycles, but people have been girls been attacked and abducted, and
Mhm.
unfortunately some other things. It's just horrible. But I think right now it's a buzzword,
Mhm.
and we shouldn't work off buzzwords as far as a money making thing. I think, but I do think I've always said that women should learn how to protect themselves, and I don't believe that women need to learn the whole essence of
Mhm.
jujitsu or the whole essence of kickboxing.
Mhm.
But I'd like to see anything presented to a woman's class that's meat and potatoes,
Mhm.
uh, how to escape from the bottom, how
Mhm.
to elbow people in the face, how
Mhm.
to,
Mhm.
just a vicious, vicious,
Right.
small women's self defense class
Yeah.
that is true and effective. And I think that if women only came twice a month, that's twice a month more than just talking about it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
And it's one of those situations that, you know, just being confident in yourself
Mhm.
can help you from getting abducted.
Mhm.
Gives you a fighting chance.
Right.
I think a lot of women don't like jujitsu because it's a very touchy feely,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
very touchy
physical.
thing.
But
And
again, that's one of the advantages. If you can get by that, it's one of the things that makes it work so well because it
yes,
desensitizes you to be like when you get grabbed, you're not like, oh shit, oh, it doesn't. You
right,
don't. There's not that pause where you have to wait for your mind to catch up, and
exactly,
it's automatically say, oh, you pull your hand back and say, leave me the fuck alone.
right.
You know.
Or if you get taken down or
Right. Right.
whatever,
Right.
you're just like,
You're
oh,
already. You're getting up. You're
yeah,
not like so traumatized by it,
right,
you know. So yeah, absolutely. I think really when you look at it, uh, it's always about how. I mean, jujitsu is awesome. It learns people how to interact with people, physical pressure, dealing with that stuff, and you know, there's just and then when there's always other influences that make true self defense kind of come out. And I agree, people need to do that. People are so caught up on thinking about having a firearm is going to save their life. I'm not saying it won't, but there's a lot of things that have to happen for that to even come into play.
right,
And a lot of times people don't work on that end of the game.
exactly.
All they do is they go to a range and fire, 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 and they're you know their pattern's pretty good, and they think, oh, let's go home, you know, like that. But they don't deal with the the pre and the post and the actual interaction.
Well, situational awareness, right?
Hmm.
I
Number
mean,
one, number one.
Yeah.
that's a number one. You should, you see everybody, and sometimes I'm guilty of it too. We'll be so busy looking
Mhm.
down at our phone as we're walking in and out of a place.
Mhm.
You know, you don't see a problem that's standing right there at you.
Mhm.
Tell me about it.
And so I guess there's a story to that.
Always.
A huge story. Yeah.
Oh
Oh
goodness,
yeah.
is
You
that
want to
willing
tell
to
it?
is that willing to share, or is that just
No, I mean, it's not a secret. You know,
oh, okay?
I traveled internationally a lot,
Right.
and I've been going to India for 20 years.
Hmm.
And last year I was in India, and normally when I travel, I'm usually really careful. You know, I don't have the cell phone out, don't have the wallet, don't have the backpack, watch, whatever.
Plus,
But
he looks like a homeless person.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I usually don't shave for
Oh
yeah,
wow.
Wears
so
a
I'm going to,
hoodie.
yeah, I'm going to third world countries, but this time I was in part of India called Surat, Gujarat, in the north
Hmm.
west of the country. Been there many times, never had a problem. And anyway, went to see a customer at night, and I get on the phone. I'm with my agent. He's local, you know, and we're walking to the customer, and I just see a lot of people at these train tracks, and I start video calling with my daughter. And then all of a sudden, like 15 guys come around us and start beating the crap out of us.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and really gave me a hard time. They really
Yeah.
beat me up. And they said, I thought I was getting robbed, you know? So I said, take the phone. So he said, unlock the phone. And they're hitting me all the time. They got my agent on the floor. They're kicking the hell out of him.
Oh damn.
Guy pulls a knife, puts it in my throat. And I didn't even see these guys come, you know, because I was on the phone with my daughter. And then they tell me to unlock the phone. So then, anyway, they're looking through my phone. They say, show me the gallery, and they're looking. And then they asked for my watch. I had a Fitbit watch on. They said, is this a video device? I said, no. I said, look, take it. You know, I'm thinking, just take everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still getting a few hits. And they're always hitting me on the back of the head, the side of the head, and in my back, never in my face. And I look, and there's cops there just watching it, the whole thing. Anyway, another gang of guys come over, and they said, you need to leave here now. I said, I'm gone. They gave me my watch back and my phone. We get in the car, we drive away, and we call the customer, and he meets us at a restaurant. Anyway, what he explained to me was this part of India, it's a dry state. It was illegal alcohol, what they were selling there.
Oh,
They wandered into a place that they shouldn't have been.
And they thought I was videoing them.
They thought it was BBC.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
And doing a live feed.
Oh, okay.
And they pay off the police.
The cops
and
and stuff
blah,
like
blah, blah.
that.
And anyway, so...
Man, talking about being aware of your situation.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, because so you don't know what's going on if you got your face in the phone.
Yeah.
It's the bottom line. And I ended up with a concussion and an ear bleed, and, you know, I flew back the day after.
It was pretty... He called me in the middle of the night when it happened.
Damn, that had to be uncomfortable, the inner ear bleed flying.
But it was scary.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we all fashion ourselves as tough guys, but when you're dealing with 15 guys, holy shit, man.
Well, I kept on saying to him, I said, I made the mistake, you know. I was not aware. I really blamed myself for months. And I was like, well, what would I have done, you know, if something had really gone down, you know? But what was really clear, and I'm going to put this on jiu-jitsu, no joke, I stayed calm throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
I just said, take my phone, take my watch.
Yeah.
Just held my hands up.
It ain't worth it, yeah.
Yeah, and I was getting hit pretty hard, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I was pretty banged up by the time it was over, but I just stayed calm, and I think that if I'd not had the training I'd had and like blew up, you know, I would maybe not have been here.
Yeah, they could have just stuck you and left you laying.
Yeah.
I will say this, and again, not to toot our horn, but we look at stuff like that. I mean, a lot of people, you know, we don't just do moves. You know, tactics are kind of what's going to save you too.
Yeah.
You know, it's beyond just a technique. A technique is a technique. You have to have the tactic of, like I said, remain calm of what you're doing, and then you start trying to figure out what can I do from here.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what you were buying time. Buying time is the way you do it. You have to buy time, whether you've got a gun in your face or you got a knife on you. And then to finish the story. So he talked to his agent when he got back home, and he said, he told Michael this, I didn't want to tell you, but the guys were saying, kill him. They were saying kill him. They were, you know, in India, you know, and it was like, he was like, oh shit, you know, it was like, so some of them, he's like, they just didn't just cut his throat.
Yeah. And all I did the jazz hands.
There you go, jazz hands again.
Jazz hands, that was it. Check it, and it was. I mean, after the fact, I mean, I was crying. I was, you know, I was really in bad shape for a few weeks. But I just came back this week from Peru, from Lima. Okay, it's the first kind of
mutual
dangerous country.
Guy we know just left to go down there today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what he's going to do, but him and another guy.
But you know what? This didn't come out of my pocket the whole time.
Yeah.
My phone, it was in my pocket the whole time.
Yeah, you gotta look around, especially if you don't know. I mean, it's bad enough to do it in areas that we know.
Yeah.
But it's really bad to do it in places you don't know where you are.
Well, again, he has a lot of stories. But when you were in Brazil, and the local guy, tell that story. I mean, people need to hear that because people think, you know, it's just like majority of your accidents that you have in your car are within 5 miles of your home. You know, you know, people think that you're okay. You know, they think if you're around your, you know, if you're like 5 miles from your house, that, you know, it's almost like you're in your house,
right?
And you're not. You know, there's, you know. But go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I went down to Sao Paulo to interview this guy to be my agent, and we spent the whole day together, me, him, and his wife, touring Sao Paulo, seeing all the soccer stuff. We said, okay, we'll go for dinner. He said, I'll pick you up at the hotel at 7. I said, great. So I go to my room, I'm waiting for him at the hotel at 7. Not there. It's like 7:30. Not there. I'm like, he don't want the job, you know. So I
Yeah.
texted him, no answer. Text him again, no answer. I called him, just rings out. I call him again. I leave my voicemail. I say, hey, listen, I don't know what's happened. I'm going to bed. I'm gonna get room service. Blah blah blah. I go to bed, and I was in the Marriott in Guarulhos, which is right at the airport. About 10:30, 11 o'clock, I get a call at the room, and this guy comes, and he's Brazilian. He's a local, so you know, he knows what not to do. He said, hey, do you want to go for dinner? I said, fuck you. I said, you stubbed me up. I said, I just, you know. He said, come down. I come down. He's downstairs. Police are there. His wife's all beat up, you know. And he said what he was doing, he was coming right outside the Marriott, coming around the corner in his car. Somebody hit him from behind in a VW. So he gets out to, you know, hey, what's going on? They pull a pistol on him. They get him and his wife out of the car, in the back of the car. They got the pistol on them. They drive them all over town, going to every ATM with the car.
Shit.
Took the phones off them, and then cleaned them out on the ATMs. Kept the phones, and then dropped them off outside the Marriott with their car.
Damn.
And they were gone. Yeah. And then he showed me the car and whatnot. And he told me, he said he could hear me calling, you know.
Oh,
time.
damn.
Yeah, and he said he just couldn't do anything at all.
Damn.
So,
Yeah, you just never. I've heard stories about Brazil though. It can be a little rough.
Oh yeah,
rough.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Sao Paulo's pretty intense, and Honduras is as well.
Oh
Honduras is
man, I
really
can imagine.
bad. So,
Golly.
but yeah, I mean that's a guy that
A local.
a local.
Yeah.
And it happened to him. So yeah, I mean coming back to what you said, cell phones. I tell you, it's the biggest distraction that people have got. I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell.
It's a lifeline. People consider it their lifeline. It's almost like a breathing tank. You know, it's almost you got to have it. And if you don't have it,
I'll be honest, I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and it's one as of late one of my things I'm trying to cull a little bit is if I'm sitting in the chair in the living room, whatever, I can play on it all night, whatever.
Yeah.
But now when I go out, I try to
Yeah.
really, to keep it in there because I think about the, conversation I had, or the thing I said on the last show I had is, people think I'm crazy because I like to sit with my back,
All right.
to the wall,
Yeah.
not, so I could see
Is
the
that not what
door.
you're supposed to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do.
That's right. That's what we all do.
I'm
So
like,
it's
I
right.
I'm-
Do the same.
Yeah, I'm just paranoid as shit. But I figure at least if somebody came in blasting, I'd have some sort of a chance to
Right.
take
Wait,
cover.
You could film them with your video camera.
Yeah.
Well, damn, I've got it reversed.
Yeah. Could you do that again?
Or at least
I have
throw
my face as they're coming in.
throw knives at them or something.
Right. Well, when you deal with automobile stuff, and I've been very fortunate to be able to train with some guys that did a lot of vehicular type things, that have worked with individuals who have been bodyguards for people like in Mexico and stuff, and having to protect in that situation. And the general rule is this: never abandon the car. And if there's only two reasons: black smoke and red fire. They're the only two times you leave a
Only two
vehicle.
times you
because on 4 flat tires, you can go a lot faster than you can on foot.
Huh.
And you've got a little tank around you. So you're always, if people are shooting at you, you're still moving faster than you can on foot.
True.
And so just don't leave the car. And, that's become a way that the criminal type have done things.
Don't be afraid of running somebody over. That's my thing. I mean, you
That's
got.
why we carved on a tree at home.
Yeah, don't be afraid of running somebody over. I mean, it's my whole thing is this: if it's my life or your life, I'm sorry. If I'm if I'm behind a 2,000-pound vehicle,
Right.
and you're standing in front,
Right.
especially if you're holding a gun, you're fucked.
Yeah. I mean, that's
I want to be the one defending myself in the dock.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one in the ground.
Yeah,
Right.
no joke. Was it so you'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6?
That's right. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, you just, you need to have the chance because, but like I said, everything you do should be focused on, like I said, whether you have your back to the wall in the restaurant, whenever you go out and do stuff, always watching that, like I said, that awareness of everything and follow your instinct. I mean, people, again, you mentioned it earlier, society has tried to breed that out of us now. Tried to take that natural animal instinct out. In the book The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker, I think, anyway. It just talks about that and how we should really learn to just kind of try to cultivate that spidey sense again.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, that's what we do when we train. We're always trying to do that. Like the KFM, the Kesey guys, when you step on the mat with them, it's interesting. Their mindset is different. Of course, they're from Spain, and they come from that. And when you go on the mat, it's on. I mean,
serious. Yeah.
it's on. I mean, you have to be ready because they will do stuff just excuse me. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, not my phone. But anyway, my phone was going off. So but anyway, it just really went off. But they will test you all the time.
Right.
They'll come up, grab you. And I mean, and they're not just going to beat the shit out of you, but they're going to grab you.
They want to see what kind of reaction you're going to
get.
Right.
And one, you don't let them sneak up on you. And a lot of their drills, they do multiple people drills to where if somebody touches you, it's 10 push-ups. So I mean, you're moving around and they have a little methodology how they do it. So it teaches that awareness.
That's pretty cool though. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, so you a lot of times, like I said, we even get, if you end up on the mat, sometimes and when you're rolling with guys, think about that. You should always know what's going on. Us guys have been doing it a while. Yeah. It's like we don't want to get stomped or kicked because we've seen some bad injuries happen with guys, get kicked in the head, cut, and stuff because people are following, because all the guys that have been doing it less than, whatever amount of time, they're not paying any attention to anything but just what's going on right in front of them.
That's a good point that you just said right there. That would be a good teaching tool, is if as a coach you're walking around and you get guys that are rolling and a guy's got his head all up in that, you should just come up and just tap him on the head and says, "Why you're not protecting your head?"
Right.
Things like that. If you're on the bottom, man, get your head up under, protect yourself.
Well, one thing that we do too, just kind of differently too, we're always, the hands are what will kill you. And so we
control the hands.
We were doing some drills a little bit ago where we had guys doing regular rolls, but the instructor had put a foam knife into play, and only one person out of the group had the knife. He would hand it off, nobody knew who had it.
Oh shit.
So we had 8 guys training, 4 groups, and nobody knew who had the knife. And so the instructor would call out, "Knife," and so that guy would pull the knife out. And so we had to so you never knew if the only way you knew you were safe is if you had, and then he introduced 2 knives. He didn't tell anybody.
Oh, shit.
So then it's at that point, so you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
But it changes your jiu-jitsu dramatically when you're trying to monitor the hands. It's hard to throw a triangle up on somebody when they may pull a knife out and stab you in the taint.
That's right. Instance, you know what? Knives in the taint are not that.
No, but I mean, you're thinking about that. You're right. A lot of times we get that tunnel vision in our jiu-jitsu. And we're not as bad as other folks will say, because we're always thinking about getting punched in the face.
Yeah, I know I am.
So you're thinking, before coming back to the original point about women's self-defense, do you think that we have like a duty to offer that? There's like,
I think so. Ever since Anaya Blanchard was, and I'm only using her because she's the latest in the thing, and I think to myself, it's almost not even a monetary thing. It's almost like a thing. It's like, man, fucking two days out of the month, is your time worth giving that to women?
Oh, it is.
To say. It's
just that they show that's the thing. When we've done free stuff in the past, sometimes we won't have anybody show.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thought process. Okay, they don't show, but you continue to offer it, and then you get 2 girls show up this time, and they've shown up twice now. So they've shown up twice that month, and you keep giving them good stuff, and you reiterate that you're going to make. We're doing this for you. I don't want nothing from you.
Right.
If you want to give me anything, just give us good word of mouth that for our school, for people that want to learn jiu-jitsu or KFM or whatever. But you still offer that as and I'm a firm believer that it'll roller coaster, but you'll end up with 2 to 4 to 6, and then next thing you know,
you just got to be smart when you offer it too. There's things that you need to do. I agree. I mean, we've tried to do little things. You remember we did that some last, was it last year, beginning of this year? Anyway, we did it, and Laura was doing, she was doing a thing on some nights, like 1 time a week, and we were doing
Well, I think that, and God, this sounds sexist as shit, I don't think a
It's
woman.
your show.
I don't think a woman should teach it.
Right.
I think a man
Right.
should teach it, and I think men should be involved. I think the biggest problem with it, and it's not that women aren't capable, is women are instructors are very capable. But my point being is that um, there's too much comfort in being taught a woman being taught by a woman. The whole purpose of a woman's self-defense class is you got to have a man on you, which is your own
Right.
comfort
Well,
zone.
We would still do that.
Yeah.
We would go in and do that with them. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's some really good lady instructors. And I'll tell you one thing, because over at one of our sister schools, Atlanta Martial Arts Center over there, they do it. They have it twice a week.
Wow.
And it's a regular program, but that program, Iris runs that program, and it's designed. And I mean, they'll have guys come in to use, to try.
And I guess that's my point. You got to have some men in there to make them uncomfortable.
But I think one thing, there's a lot of ladies that are introduced to jiu-jitsu through that. Again, and I think one of you guys said it. Well, it goes about comfort level. Some people are really standoffish about stuff, and you have to get them adapted to things. And
you have to ease them into it. But you got to teach them that. You got to teach them.
Oh yeah, and it's a baby step process.
But I think you probably have to promote it now because there's an awareness right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how these things wane.
They weigh off, yeah.
And then until the next time.
Yeah. Well, you just got to. If your school was going to do it, you just have to figure out what is a time that you can offer, and give it, and then, but you have to stand by it. You have to stand by it and say, even if nobody shows up,
right?
But you have to be consistent in the fact of, I'm going to run this for X amount of time,
right?
And whether it be 6 months, a year, whatever, and because you may get a bunch of people in the beginning, they'll show up, and then they'll drop off, and then you get that little bit of roller coaster, just like in any class that you give. But but my thoughts of the class is meat and potatoes. I'm not worried about teaching you this or teaching that. I'm teaching you, if a man that's 100 pounds more than you, I'm going to teach you how to run your knuckle straight through his throat as you're, an Ezekiel choke from the bottom while you're in full guard. And I want you to squeeze him till he passes out. And I want you to understand that all you need to hold, if you can get across those arteries, 9 seconds max, and he's going to sleep. And then you get up and run. Stomp his head twice.
Well, if you're already down, you got to try. And that's one thing that jiu-jitsu does good. You learn, you've got to better your situation some way or another, whether that's snagging something or sweeping somebody or just getting away. But you've got to be able to, again, that gives you're occupying a space in time right there. You're slowing time down.
But I think you have to structure it that they don't need any real athletic ability.
Right, absolutely.
Something, they can just use it and that's it. They don't need to be able to
just
run a mile away.
Meat and potatoes, man.
Well, it's not fancy. The stuff that works is not fancy.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about we talked about kind of the combat blueprint before. We've talked about the acid wash principle, where you take a cast iron pot and throw everything you can possibly do in the world of combative arts, throwing stars and everything else, and death touch. And
throwing stars are great.
You're right, they are great. But that's us. But I would still never use one in a real fight.
True.
But anyway, maybe the other thing, I'm going to rob you. If you pull that out there going, I'm going to rob you, you've got to throw in stuff. But you take everything you put in there, and then if you throw acid on top of it, there's very few things that are still there that aren't washed away.
Sure.
That don't require the moon being lined up with Saturn and this, that, and to happen, to be able to do on a repeat basis. The things are simplicity.
Absolutely, I agree.
Under pressure, complicated shit just does not work.
Absolutely.
Baron Bolo.
We started off with what was that bullshit in Virginia? I can't remember.
About being training. Yeah. Well, it's about self-defense. It's really.
I forgot where we were. Michael trying to keep us back on track.
It's gone. My shows always go a weird, wicked tale. That's the great thing about my show. But it's still always, as my show is always relevant in the fact of defending yourself. We started out in the fact of, it's amazing how society is trying to soften us to a point where we don't take care of ourselves, which is I can't even rationalize in my brain,
Yeah.
down to the point of this has been going on since the beginning of time. There's people that are being, boys and girls that are getting kidnapped into slavery in different parts of the world.
Well, yeah, I
It's
saw that 5920s, like the sex trafficking highway across the
yeah,
USA. I mean, that
yeah,
part there
yeah,
in
that and
Iredale.
dope too,
Yeah.
and just so because it's a nice hub. Birmingham is a weird hub,
Yeah.
but but I'm talking about across the world. I
Yeah.
mean, there's people that are they talk about slavery. Slavery has never ended. There's people still being done into slavery right now, whether it's
Yeah.
Right.
forced people cleaning your house to rich people's houses around the world to
Porn.
to porn to
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And but the point being is that we need to toughen up, and people are so aghast that it's happening here, but it's nothing new. It's just not,
Yeah.
it's new here. It's new. It's not really new, but it's just talked about now here. And I think that it's a good opportunity as a self defense instructor that it's almost an obligation in the
Yeah.
sense of we need to, if nothing else, at least be vocal to people. And whether they train with you, whether they train with somebody down the street, or whether they do, it's just almost an obligation where you have to talk about it more and more,
Yeah.
and watch out for yourself and take care of yourself.
Right. Master Sowers primary schools in Virginia. So
Yeah.
I mean, so it's interesting to see what will happen with all that. That'll probably just get washed by the wayside.
Wayside.
Yeah, but just kind of seeing. I mean, all martial arts are not created equal. I mean, everything draws on very similar things, but all instructors aren't equal, and people's perspective on stuff is not equal.
Mhm.
I mean, being able to train with a bunch of guys that have been there, done that, and kind of say that's bullshit.
Mhm.
You got to have that. You got to have that. People say that's just not it. That's just not real.
Right.
And that's one thing that jiu-jitsu checks that box, because you're going. And really, when you think about it, as far as full contact stuff, in jiu-jitsu, you can go just pretty much as hard. Now, again, we're not punching each other in the face all the time, but you can go, you're feeling real energy and you're dealing with it, and you know what's like somebody's trying to hold you down. And I mean, that's the
A
thing.
live training. I'm glad you said that. Everybody should do a live training.
Right. And I mean, a lot of places they'll do street week or whatever too, where they may even wear regular clothes. I mean, and train. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to kind of look at things. So yeah, you just gotta do that. You've got to think realistically about things. Keep your family safe and train your family unit to work as like a military squad where you have a plan. The holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
You should train everybody to say, all right, Tommy, your job is you got the flank. We're going. We're going. So stay behind. If you know where your kids are, folks, you need to make sure your kids learn to stay behind you, right there with you when you're out. Because if they get away from you, then they become
A target.
a tool
Mhm.
is what they become.
Well, I think that's a great note to end this on. Safety first. Everybody, watch out for your stuff. Take care of your kids, and go see Heroes MMA and Gracie Jiu Jitsu Birmingham, and see what you can learn.
Sounds good.
All right. Good to have you on, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right.
This is the Furlough Podcast, brought to you by All American Ford in Aniana, Alabama. Stop by and see John Makovica and his team today.